Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy and this is the Ask Videomail for the week of March 12th, 2012. Welcome to the site to all you new members. There's a lot of you new members actually this week. And welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail, don't forget, is your chance to get your question in character, animation, or performance answered in a video just like this one. But I need your question if I'm going to answer it on video. So please send it to me. Send it to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it's the best way to get the most for your subscription here at kennyroy.com. Now, there are a lot of new members here because we had the 24-hour animation marathon last week. I am still recovering. My head is still spinning. It's crazy. So I don't think it could have gone possibly better at all. Don't worry, I have all the videos. I thought that I lost some videos, but I do have all the videos from that event, and I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to edit them and put them up on the web. It's going to be difficult, but I promise I will get those up as soon as I possibly can. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Kickstarter page, as of recording this, it's over $20,000. I am floored. I don't know where to start. Thank you just sounds so small and so not enough to say, but it's all I can say. Thank you so much for everyone who attended the 24-hour animation marathon, tweeted and Facebooked, updated about it, and brought all those people to the show. A few quick stats. We used over 9,700 viewer hours. One person watching for 1 hour is 1 viewer hour. So that means on average, over 24 hours, 406 people were watching. I honestly thought that I'd maybe have like 25 people who watched the whole thing, and maybe it spiked to like 50 or 100. But on average, 406 people watched the entire thing. And during the day, when it was light out, it spiked over 500. So I had no idea that so many people were into what I was trying to do here and would watch the marathon. So again, what else can I say but thank you? Please, but don't forget, I am not done yet with my fundraising. I still need a little bit more help to reach my goal. So please send that Kickstarter link to your friends and family. There is the Kickstarter link. I just super appreciate it, and what else is there to say, really? I mean, just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let's get to the ask question. Don't forget, you can send me your Maya file if you want it to be opened here on KennyRoy.com. I like receiving Maya files, so you can do that as well. But let's take a look at the question real quick. Okay, great question. Now we have just a little bit of terminology to get through. First, center of gravity, or cog, sometimes is a controller that is on your character. So you do not want to mix up the true center of gravity with the cog of your controller. I mean, the cog of your character, the cog controller, okay? So just so you know, those are two different things. You don't necessarily have a controller where the center of gravity is at all times. Now, what is the center of gravity? Basically what it is the point about which, if the character was balancing, then they would be basically on balance. So if it's outside of the body, if you can just imagine that there's like a pole or something connected to the character that's rigid, the character would be able to balance on that point. Okay, so let me illustrate that concept really quickly. All right, so you have a standing character. A standing character probably has a center of gravity that's somewhere in the middle of their body, right? And they have all of their weight is pretty much over the center of gravity. Let me use a nice bright color like red. Okay, so the center of gravity is somewhere in the middle. Okay, but when you're moving, the center of gravity moves, and when you're leaned over, especially, your center of gravity can actually travel outside of your body. Okay, so if the same character is leaned over, all right, and standing like this, all right, then the center of gravity is going to be outside their body. Now, where is it going to be? Again, it's going to be that point that if they could basically rotate on that point. If there was like, I don't know, like a stand or something, they would actually be on balance, okay? So let's say it's like right here for a character that's leaned over. Now, why is it right there? Why is it outside the body? Just imagine, again, so if he had like a pole, let me draw with like blue or something, like a pole, that like little support system, let's put like little struts right here, okay, that was attached to his body, right? And it was going right through this point, okay? You could just like walk up and just tap him really lightly, and he would rotate on this point effortlessly, on balance, without basically tipping over. Okay, so that's your center of gravity. It's the place in space. Doesn't have to be inside your body, and frequently with moving characters or characters that are in a dynamic pose, it's outside the body. Now, how is he able to stay standing while being leaned over? Well, the fact of the matter is that it takes effort. It takes the muscles in your back. It takes the muscles in your legs to keep you standing upright when your center of gravity isn't nice and centered over your feet. Okay, this guy on the left exerts very little energy to stay standing, whereas this person with that center of gravity outside their body, or you know, sticking out over their feet, has a lot of trouble. At a certain point, what ends up happening is, if you lean over too much, oops, let me go back to black. If you lean over too much, okay, why am I drawing the feet first? All right. And basically what happens is your muscles cannot maintain that balance. They basically can't push enough against the weight that is being drawn over, if you will, getting pulled over the center of gravity. Then you tip over. So, you know, a person can lean over like this guy, but a person can't lean too far over because there's not enough strength at all in your body in order to get to keep you from falling over this point. Okay, so. So basically, what we do is, as when we're posing characters, is we try to get as dynamic poses as possible. But what you have to do is you have to understand that the center of gravity is going to really dictate the choices you can make. So let me delete his legs right here, and show you that with just a little bit of adjustment, we can have a character who's really leaned over. Okay. You know, with an interesting pose. So if you want your character leaned over this much, well, guess what? Now the center of gravity has been brought just a little bit back towards his body, and he has still that amount of lean in his body. So what we're looking for basically is poses that are very dynamic, but the center of gravity is still somewhat over the feet so that they can stand. So in terms of static poses, that's what we're going for. Now, when you're moving, something different happens. Your center of gravity is basically like always outside your body, because what you're doing is, if you're taking, let's say you're taking a step, for instance, okay. Let's have this be just kind of like a normal step. If you're taking a step, the amount that the center of gravity is outside your body is basically the speed of your walk. Basically, that's kind of how it translates, okay? So this guy, when you plant your foot down and your foot starts traveling backwards relative to your body, then the amount of inertia, the amount of momentum pushing you or keeping you moving forward basically acts on your center of gravity. Oops, red is the center of gravity color. Okay, so that it's almost acting like inertia, almost is like a force that pushes your center of gravity out, and your center of gravity is like a magnet that pulls you forward. If you want to think about it like that. What happens is you get your foot up like this, and then you basically are falling. You've heard a walk described as a controlled fall. You're basically falling onto this foot, because the center of gravity is outside your body. The faster you move, the further the center of gravity is outside your body. So you can just imagine that a character who is really leaned over, okay, and has a super dynamic run, is, you know, their center of gravity is like super far outside their body, right? So this guy, he's zooming along, and his center of gravity is somewhere out here. Why? Because if he was to if he's going to try to balance himself, the amount of force and energy that he would need to exert to stop instantly and not fall forward would be just tremendously. So, it would just be tremendous, right? So back up here, let's remember this guy. This guy, the legs are resisting how much he's getting pulled over, right? And his back is resisting how much he's getting pulled over the center of gravity. This guy, imagine if instantaneously he's going, and then somehow just instantaneously his feet, boom, just got planted with all that momentum. Can you imagine, like, you'd have to have calf or quadriceps like this and calf muscles like this in order to make it so that you came to a complete stop and didn't fall forward. So you can think of center of gravity almost in terms of if you are, especially if you're moving, how much strength and how much power you would need to keep yourself on balance if you came to a stop. And then it becomes really simple. A twisting, circular motion is acceleration always tangent to the direction of the circle. Okay? So as the circle goes around, there's force being exerted tangent to that circle. So if you're taking, let's say you're walking along, this is getting a little bit crazy here. Okay, so let's say you're walking along and this is your path, and then you take a turn, okay? Well, on that turn, your forward momentum is going like this, and then on that turn, your momentum is tangent to the curve, and then you start going forward again. Why that's important is because if you do anything that is in circular motion, let's say you're running around in a circle, or even if your character plants their foot and then spins out of it and plants their foot somewhere else, even that tight spin creates a ton of momentum. And you might think, this is looking down view on a footstep. Here's your footstep, and here's another footstep, okay? So looking down view on this, you might think, well, oh, he's twisting really tightly, okay? Here's the other foot, right? He lifts it up, twists over, and then actually this would be, all right, so he slides this one, plants it right here, and then this one lifts up. This is the red foot. The left foot is the red foot, okay? He lifts this up and then spins his body and then plants this left foot right here. So looking down on this little scene, you might think, okay, well, the center of gravity is going to stay in the middle because this is a really tight little turn, right? He lifts his leg and spins and plants it. Well, actually not really. Why? Because the acceleration in a circle is tangent to the circle, meaning if you are going really fast into a turn, then you're actually throwing that center of gravity according to the force that is tangent to all these points on the curve. And so in a really tight turn that's really fast, actually your center of gravity is like at this point, it's actually thrown out about right here on a super fast turn. Let's say there's 10 frames, boom, like really whip around, and right here it's actually thrown out right here. Meaning you need to know that the weight and the force that it would take to stop this motion is extreme because the center of gravity is way out here. Okay, so in motion, what the best way to really think about all of this, to combine all these all these concepts, is to really just think about center of gravity as a point that is constantly being pushed kind of ahead of your character. Okay. Obviously, if they're stumbling backwards, then that makes then it's being pushed behind. But normally, in most cases, in most shots that we're working on, it's being pushed ahead. And just think of it as something that has a magnetic connection to your character. And if you're running forward, then it's way far out there, and it's pulling you forward. You're falling onto your steps. If you're spinning, then the momentum is way outside your body, but is tangent to that spin. So it's not like if you're spinning really closely and tightly right here, unless you're spinning perfectly on the center of your axis. Unless it's that. But it's going to be outside your body, and it's going to be further away than you would think. So really, the best thing to do is to just really simplify how you're thinking about center of gravity, and know that, well, kind of to answer the question a little bit more directly, it's not located normally anywhere. It's always located exactly where the pivot point would be, where you could perfectly basically rotate that character around that point, and they would be totally on balance. Okay, and now that might seem weird because the pose is really lopsided if you do that. But if you've ever seen one of those toys that's basically a bird that has like its beak, and you balance the beak on just this tiny little point, and the wings have weights in them, and you can balance it on like that. That's almost exactly what like the center of gravity concept that I'm trying to illustrate is. I'll try to find an image and maybe put up on screen if I can find a royalty-free one. I don't like to just do Google searches and put up images that I don't know. Actually, I'll just draw it. Google like bird or bird balance or bird like weight balance, but basically it looks like this. You get this little thing that's like this tiny little point, and then the bird's head with the beak goes like this, and then its wings are basically out like this, and its body and its tail, right? And what it is that there's a big amount of weight in the ends of the wings right here, and you can just tap it really lightly on the tail, and it rotates all the way around. It's kind of an interesting thing to look at. So that's exactly what I'm talking about right here. It's the point about which, if you were connected to it in a rigid way, you would be completely able to just completely rotate around that point. On balance and without moving or shifting or falling or anything. Okay, so think about center of gravity when you're animating your characters, and what you need to do is really just compensate for that. Make sure that you're not animating them off balance. You're not keeping them standing in an off balance, with their center of gravity outside their body, without somehow compensating for it in the pose. If they're leaning forward, you got to do something in the pose, maybe bend a knee, push it forward just a little bit, something to show that they are holding themselves up. Even though their center of gravity might be outside their feet, they're holding themselves up. Okay, so very good question. I want to see a lot more paying attention to the center of gravity in your work from everybody, and please keep on sending more questions like this. These are great, and I really like answering them. If you do want your question answered in an Ask Video Mail, you need to send it to webmaster@kennyroy.com. Don't worry, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I have asked far more stupid questions than you ever could in my career, so don't be shy. Go ahead and send your Maya file if you'd like me to take a look at it as well. Thank you again. A million thanks for the Kickstarter support and for the 24-hour marathon support. It was a blast. Thank you for coming and watching. Tell people about the little painter. I still need a few more donations to go, so I'd appreciate your help a little bit more on that, and I hope you're having fun. I know I am. Thanks a lot. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.